challenges we are now facing. We're following, as we now should begin to follow closely, the races, the candidates that will be on the ballot in November. And there are certain people that I have openly endorsed for reasons that I have given, just like I endorsed Trump in 2015 and 16. And I've gotten to know the Attorney General out in Arizona, Mark Brnovich, who's going to be running against Mark Kelly, hopefully, assuming he gets the nomination. I think he will. And that is a very, very important pickup state for us. We've got to hold Pennsylvania. There is a chance in New Hampshire we'd have another pickup. They're going to be spending, tens and tens, if not $100+ million against Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. We're watching Ohio. We're watching North Carolina. I think Senator Tim Scott's going to be fine in South Carolina. He's a great candidate. He's loved in his state. But the Attorney General from the great state of Arizona, Mark Brnovich, is with us now. I'm not sure how to characterize Arizona anymore. Used to be a red state, but it's been leaning a little purplish, bluish. But I think Mark Kelly, if you vote for Mark Kelly out in Arizona, you're basically voting for Chuck Schumer, because he votes with Schumer, 98% of the time?
Yeah, Sean, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you, as always, for having my back. And what people need to understand is Arizona has this great Western, conservative libertarian tradition, and one of the keys is we don't trust Washington, D.C. to solve problems. And as someone that grew up here, I understand that fundamentally, and people like Mark Kelly don't, because they're not from Arizona. And in 2018, when I ran for re-election as AG, Tom Steyer, all these lefties, all these tech guys can't stand me for some reason, maybe because I'm always suing them, but they spent millions, more than $6 million attacking me in the last 6 weeks, and I still got more votes than Cinema Brick Sally. So when we have candidates that are conservative, that can stand up, articulate, and defend our values, that people know aren't full of it, and they go on the offense like I've done against the Biden administration and before that Obama, we win. And it's as simple as that.
There's so many different issues, and I've had you on the program. I won't repeat what we've discussed in the past, but I can't think of a single issue that we disagree on. You've been in the forefront of suing the Biden administration on numerous fronts. Give us some quick updates on how those cases are going.
Well, just next week, February 23rd, I will be personally arguing at the U.S. Supreme Court on the public charge rule. And Sean, this is the rule that basically the Biden administration illegally withdrew that says if you're a non-citizen, you got to be able to support yourself if you want legal status. So we think this is part of the attempt of the Biden administration to incentivize and monetize people coming here illegally. So I'll personally be arguing that case. We've also sued the Biden administration over his failure to build the wall. Just this last week, we issued an opinion, first opinion in the entire country for any attorney general anywhere, saying that the Biden administration has created a border crisis, which legally constitutes an invasion pursuant to Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. And we issued that opinion, Sean, because the current crisis at our border is fueling violence and lawlessness by the cartels and gangs, and not just Arizona, but all over the country. And we've talked about the record amount of fentanyl and methamphetamine coming into this country. And, the only thing that's falling in prices are illegal drugs because of the Biden administration. But every hardworking American taxpayer is having to pay more for food and fuel and everything else. And so whether it's suing Biden over the Remain in Mexico policy, his failure to deport people, that case of the Ninth Circuit that have deportation orders, obviously, the case I'm arguing to the Supreme Court, there's just so many cases going on right now because the Biden administration, we thought at one point wanted to abolish ICE, but what they've done is essentially abolished our southern border and let the cartels seize control of it, Sean.
I call it aiding and abetting lawbreaking, and I would argue that if I was assisting people across the border, illegally entering this country, and I transported these people to whatever state they wanted to go to, if I did that, tell me why I would not be charged with human trafficking.
Well, we are our office has prosecuted people for human trafficking related charges, and obviously it's a serious issue. Unfortunately, in the 90s, last time there was a surge in illegal immigration, the Supreme Court had issued cases saying essentially the states couldn't use or couldn't enforce immigration laws. And so it sometimes gets tricky with how we prosecute those cases. And one of the things that we lay out in our opinion is that as long as states are enforcing criminal law, a governor can indeed declare that there is an invasion and then use, whether it's the National Guard or other law enforcement resources, to deter, catch, and expel people that are involved in human smuggling, drug smuggling, and gang activity. So there are additional tools in the toolboxes, and I do think, and we actually have, we're looking into some of the tech companies that we think may be facilitating through what some of their practices online may be to facilitate human trafficking. So it's something that we're obviously looking into, and we're trying to use every tool in our toolbox, whether it's criminal or civil, to try to solve the problem that the Biden administration created.
I've been watching the inflation. I want to get your thoughts on the economy, and I think a lot of the 40-year high inflation is directly related to Biden economic and energy policies. And very specifically, Joe Biden has reduced the supply of energy in the world market. It's the lifeblood of the world's economy. I cannot fathom why he gave a waiver for Nord Stream 2, the pipeline for Vladimir Putin, while simultaneously firing so many workers in the energy sector all across the country. These are high-paying career jobs for people, and wiped it out. He wiped out the energy independence that Donald Trump achieved in the first time in 75 years. He wiped out America being a net exporter of energy. So now we see the result of all of this. People are paying close to $1.50 more a gallon for gasoline. We're paying a fortune more to heat and cool our homes. We're paying a fortune for every single product that we buy at every single store we go to, because it costs more to ship it there, to truck it there. And so everybody's, suffering under all of this. And the answer is obvious, but I don't think Biden has it within him to take on his radical, cult of climate change that now dominates the Democratic Party.
Exactly, Sean. And let's not forget, when the Soviet Union collapsed, communism didn't die. All those people just ended up in the environmental movement. And so much of what we're seeing now with progressive policies is an attempt to basically run our lives and make us dependent on central authority. And this issue is near and dear to me because, my parents lived through World War II. They lived through communism. And any government that's big enough to give you everything is big enough to take it away, as Barry Goldwater used to say. And so what the Biden administration, the progressive left, is doing is they want people dependent on central government, and we were energy independent. President Trump did make us energy independent, and then with the Biden administration, by canceling pipeline projects, by making it harder for people to explore and drill for oil and natural gas, we no longer are in the position we were, and that affects our national security. And, just as a quick aside, this is an issue where I'm not some Johnny-come-lately. I literally, when I was at the Goldwater Institute, back in 2004, I wrote an essay in National Review about how the federal government is the problem when it comes to energy independence because of gas taxes that are used to, that have outlived their usefulness, that are basically used to fund pork barrel projects, and that you have all these federal mandates from the EPA and all these restrictions on drilling and exploration. The feds caused the problem, Sean, and President Trump, through a deregulation and through allowing people to, build pipelines and, explore for, natural gas and oil, made us energy independent, and that's why prices were so they were falling and they were lower. And anybody, a middle class kid, anybody that's gone to the grocery store, whether you're buying milk, whether you're trying to save for your kids' college, or whether you're putting gas in your car, everyone knows that something is broke with our economy. And I think there's a lot of people. If you go to the grocery store, you talk to your postal carriers, talk to my mom's friends from church, they are all worried that another shoe's going to drop, and it will drop unless we make sure that we have a Senate that understands federalism and we have a president that understands that we don't want the federal government socializing our economy and nationalizing our elections.
I don't know what the federal gas tax is now. I think it was close to 20 cents or 18.5 cents per gallon of gasoline. And then you have a state like New York that piles on top of that. And then you have localities that pile on top of that. out in California, not far from where you are. I mean, they're paying, upwards of nearly $6 a gallon for gasoline, for crying out loud. Now, who does that disproportionately negatively impact but the poor and the middle class in this country? The very people Biden said he has the most compassion for. He kept saying, well, there's only going to be tax cuts for poor people, and we're gonna milk the rich. Well, he's killing the middle class in this country, and he's killing poor people in this country because they cannot afford the inflation tax that Biden has now put on everybody because of his policies. And there's no hope of him undoing it. It's like I don't expect the Bill Clinton, the era of big government is over, and the end of welfare as we know it moment from him.
Yeah, remember, the gas tax was originally enacted in 1956 to support construction of the interstate highway system. And frankly, it's outlived its usefulness. And as you said, it's now being used by the progressive left to redistribute wealth and fund their pet projects and to increase the power of government. And people in D.C. Chuck Schumer and Cartel Kelly, they love it because then they get to, support various pork barrel projects and, they were supporting bridges to nowhere or paying for, bike paths in Rhode Island. If you're an Arizona taxpayer, why should that be? And so clearly the left uses our tax system, whether it's the gas tax or other taxes, to redistribute wealth and basically engage in crony capitalism where they pick winners and losers in the marketplace. And this is why you even see some of these big corporations now that are kowtowing to the left, and they're all woke, and they're trying to basically, feed the alligator and hopes he eats them last.
Yeah, well, we'll see. All right, quick break. More with now Senate candidate, the Attorney General, great state of Arizona, Mark Brnovich, with us. This is an important pickup state for the Republicans if they're going to take back the Senate. All right, as we continue, Senate candidate, now Attorney General of the great state of Arizona, seeking the Republican nomination for the Senate, Mark Brnovich is with us. Let's talk about the Senate race out there. Okay, so it's going to be Mark Kelly. First, let me get what is the reaction of Kristen Sinema been since she has stood up to the Biden administration? I've got to imagine, knowing the independent streak among people in Arizona, that they probably like it. Am I wrong?
I think they like it, Sean. I know they like it. And here's the thing, though, that we need to keep in context, is Kristen Sinema, 15 years ago, was a socialist. I mean, she called herself a socialist. She's still in favor of trillions of dollars of spending we don't have. And yet she now is too moderate for the Democratic Party. And so she's standing up to Chuck Schumer, but Cartel Kelly won't. And I think Arizonans appreciate that. But literally, if you turn on your TV here in Arizona, the left is running commercials attacking her. And that's how far and how crazy today's Democratic Party's become. This is not the party of John F. Kennedy. And it's gone so far left that even Kristen Sinema now is considered too moderate for the Democratic Party. And I think it just shows you how out of touch the elites in D.C. are and how out of touch someone like Mark Kelly is. Because I don't know if he's getting advice from a spaceship or something because he was an astronaut, but it makes no sense at all to me as someone that grew up here, a middle-class kid, that why would you be currying favor with Chuck Schumer and supporting policies that encourage crime and lawlessness, just encourage disorder, encourages chaos at our southern border, makes our communities less safe, that makes people's take-home pay less, that we have we're on this track to having record inflation. Why would any Arizonan, let alone someone in Massachusetts, support those kind of policies?
Yeah, no, you've done unbelievable out there, and I think this is going to get very interesting. I know you're leading in the polls, but you never know. People in primaries, things go sideways. I think it's pretty certain now that Ducey, the governor, is not getting into the Senate race, which I'm glad, to be very frank. I think you're a better candidate. And certainly, I think the people of Arizona would appreciate the difference and not having a rubber stamp for Chuck Schumer. I mean, for everybody that's out in Arizona, know this. If you elect Mark Kelly, you're electing Chuck Schumer because he votes with Schumer almost all the time. Mark Brnovich, thanks for being with us. And if people want to learn more about your positions, what's your website again that nobody can remember?
BurnoForAZ.com. But remember, Sean, we call it the Hannity caveat. If people also go to MarkBForAZ.com, if they put that in, that'll direct them to BurnoForAZ.com, BRNOFORAZ.com.
I cannot believe you made the worst website name, domain name of any Senate candidate in history. You're supposed to make it easy, like Herschel Walker, I think, has Team Herschel. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm not a politician, Sean. That's the problem, you know. And
that's a good thing. Outsiders are, to me, are the future of fixing the country. So, we appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, Sean.
Mark Brnovich, Attorney General, Arizona, also running for the Republican nomination. Quick break, right back.